Right on. So welcome everybody to another episode of Jake's Take podcast. I believe we're on episode 6 or 7 now. It's hard to keep track, but I have, as always, a very special guest today. Someone who I connected with in the industry, and I wanted to bring him on today to talk about systems and implementing systems and building a team and a powerhouse. So I'd like to welcome Josh Perez. Thank you very much for joining us, Josh. Do you want to start by letting us know a little bit more about yourself, your company, what you guys have done? I'd rather you tell me about it than me try to fumble my way through.
Sure. No, thanks. No, Jake, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to chat, talk some shop, and it was cool. A short while ago that we connected. I think it was at an event. What was the event for again? It was golf.
It was like the Andrew Hines appreciation.
Oh yeah, what am I talking
golf
about?
event.
Your brother-in-law there. Yeah. The Andrew Hines. Yeah, so that was cool.
I don't know the official name, but that's
Yeah,
I think that's what we can call it.
Yeah, we just got randomly paired up there and found out we had a lot of mutual kind of connections in our world. So that was really neat, and here we are. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. So I'm a mortgage broker and brokerage owner or partner of Synergy Mortgage Group. Our brokerage has only been open since Jan 2020, but I've been a mortgage broker since the start of 2015. Prior to that, I worked at a big bank at CIBC. I was a financial advisor there. So doing all kinds of things, opening bank accounts, helping financial planning with mutual funds, doing mortgages as well. So I started out at the bank and, got a pretty good education there, but it was really my kind of first involvement in investing in real estate, which was in 2010 with a couple of buddies who we just kind of wanted to think about our future and start a business together. We had all kinds of funny ideas. We would meet like bi-weekly in my buddy's parents' kitchen with a bunch of different ideas. And we got on the topic of real estate, and we took over the kitchen table, and he had like a city of Hamilton map like glued on the kitchen table that stayed there. And then we were talking about flipping houses, and then we got on the topic of like buying and holding. And then, it all kind of started from there. So kind of when we got involved in buying our first property, which turned into like 2 and 3 pretty quickly, I started to realize I was a lot more passionate about real estate and investing. And that kind of had me gravitate from the banking side to just focusing more on mortgages. I learned a bit about the brokering business, which, allows us to work with banks as well as, all kinds of other lenders, mortgage companies, credit unions. And then, just made the switch in 2015 to become kind of own business owner. It was just myself and my one partner who was at TD. And then, we're just kind of like sales guys, wanted to, do X amount of, volume. And then soon enough, we brought on someone to help us out, and we started growing. And we've built an amazing team now, but it kind of came out of the need where, kind of our value proposition with our clients on the mortgage side of things. Like we work with a pretty good split of whether it's real estate investors looking at buying, their first investment property or like their 10th. Probably like investors make up about maybe 60% of the clients we help right now. And then 40% are, buying your first home or moving from one home to another. It's a great mix. But what we found was our real kind of bread and butter with clients. It wasn't really anything fancy, but it was all about like giving really, really good, or I'd call it like expert advice around real estate investing throughout the transaction, and also helping with like budgeting and planning, and also giving really good service and turnaround time. So as we got busy, you just realized like, if we want to stick to those, our special sauce, let's say, we need to hire people to help so that we can still kind of honor those service turnaround times, which were like the whole reason, that and like advice as to why people would come back to us and refer us. Right. So, a lot of people I find in business, sometimes they're really good at something and they get really, really busy, but they don't, let's say, like hire or leverage some help. And as a result, their service kind of starts to erode a little bit.
I have to just, jump in and say, I want to touch on something you mentioned, which was, your business strategy, or I guess your, kind of your business plan, which is, education and and building that for your clients. I think that's something that, I've personally implemented into my business plan. And it's, I say it 100 times, everybody that's listening has probably heard it before, but I love educating clients rather than selling clients. And I think that's what you guys do very well. We're all salespeople at the core, but I think an education plan to say, hey, this is why you should be buying this building, not, buy it because the market's good, right? Like that's the special sauce, and that's what I wanted to stop and just touch on.
I honestly that's a really, that actual quote you just said, just buy it because the market's hot or busy. Yeah, a bit of a pet peeve. It happens a lot, unfortunately, but yeah, I think the education piece. I mean, one thing I say and I'm truly grateful for is, lucky to be in an industry and in a business where, for most people, I think in Canada or in our culture, buying a home or an investment property, for a lot / most people, is a very major financial accomplishment and milestone. Yeah. So it's really fulfilling to be able to be part of a client's journey along that way and help them out with part of that, right? With real estate agent, lawyer, accountant, whoever the case may be, being part of that, right? So part of that is my team, and sometimes because we hear each other talking, on the phone, we'll kind of joke around. But one thing I say a lot of the time is buying a home or investment property is biggest purchase you're going to make, likely. Yep. Also largest debt you're going to take on. So, I mean, yeah, doing a mortgage, getting you approved, collecting pay stubs, all that stuff. Yeah. That stuff's kind of the transactional part is kind of the easy part. Yeah. But what I find is really important is kind of working through clients' goals and their budget, and we don't really have to do that to process a mortgage, but we've just felt that taking that extra time, having a longer phone call, being a bit more detailed, maybe asking for more information for a client up front, so that we're really in tune with what's important to them. Yeah, okay, I want to buy a house. Yeah, yep. Get it, big picture, right? But have you thought about price points, location? Do you have other considerations? How long are you going to plan to stay there for? Have you looked at what the budgeting associated, not just with your mortgage payment, but everything else in housing, right? And I think it's just really important to us and our whole team that we're really goals based and detailed with every single client, regardless if it's their first mortgage or their 10th mortgage. We just really try to replicate that because we find that's kind of a lot of the times the difference maker for us is the treatment, the service, the quality of advice of each client. And we found that that's kind of been a bit of a recipe to we see clients coming back to us for that. Yeah.
And again, just I like what you're saying. I really do, and it's one of those things where I think it's like a game of chess almost, right? Where it's, you got to think 3 moves ahead. We have clients that come to us, you and I both, right? And I have some repeat clients, right? And I'm sure you do as well. But I'll say, hey, have you sat down with a mortgage broker yet? They haven't purchased in a year or something like that. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? Jake, I'm qualified, right? And I go, I understand. And that's not why I'm saying sit with a mortgage broker. But, I also know you like your cars, right? That's the client, right? Hey, if you want to go buy that Ferrari, man, that's great. I know you're planning for that. But at the same time, is this house gonna ruin that affordability for your Ferrari? So it's not always, it's not always just about, hey, are you qualified or not? But like you said, it's rather, let's set up that structure, that pattern, so we can buy 4 properties this year if that's the goal, right?
That's that's awesome, and I've been lucky enough to work with a number of real estate partners over the year, and they're helpful to our business, and it's the ones that we connect with the most, I guess, fruitfully is the ones that are, again, kind of have the same, our values are aligned, right? It's yeah, we can go and get a transaction done. Or sometimes I joke around even with our team is listen, the easy way would just to be the order taker. Yep. And just do whatever the client says and don't point out concerns with a property or a situation. And then the conversation is just much easier, right? So sometimes you're almost making, if you want to call it transaction or situation more difficult with the client to really look out for their best interests. And hopefully they see and appreciate that. And we're here for the long game, right? It's also one thing is am I going to spend, an extra 10 minutes on a call talking about why I think a variable rate is more important, because it's more flexible and doesn't have a penalty, kind of like the fixed rate and the stigma around it, and explain that whole kind of notion that doesn't get explained anywhere? Or can I just move on and just give them the fixed rate? And it's just like, no, we got to stick to our principles, because down the road, when that client, wants to pull equity or sell that house and didn't think they were going to move soon enough, not going to be like, hey, you didn't tell me I have a $20,000 penalty instead of like a $3,000 penalty, right?
That's so because they're not thinking about you while everything's going good and the mortgage is getting paid down. But then when that fee comes along, they're gonna say, hey, Josh, what the heck? Yeah, for sure. And it's again, it's not about the first, but the next 10 we do. Right?
Yeah, for sure. You want to, we're lucky to, like I said, industry, we're really lucky to be a part of it, because it can be super impactful. And I just think, for us to contribute to that, and real estate can achieve so much for people financially in Canada. And so helping to be an advisor more than just processing a transaction, I think is super important, and separates, there's a lot of mortgage people, bankers, there's a lot of real estate agents out there, but I think the quality of advice is really an area where we can separate ourselves and be difference makers for people.
Yeah, and that's and that's what I saw in you when we had a day to sit and chat on the course. And I really wanted to get you on as one of my first guests, right? We're only episode 6 here, so but just to give good value, right? I want to give people good value here. Taking it back just a little bit, if you're okay. I'd love what your first investment was, because I know you said you're at the kitchen table with your map, trying to take over the world. What did you end up investing in?
I remember.
How did you grow that?
Yeah, I remember it very clearly. So, we got on the idea of buying a multi-unit property, just looking at duplexes, triplexes. I'm in Hamilton. I was in Hamilton at the time, so naturally we wanted to kind of stick to that area. And man, in September 2010, for like $225,000, like, the supply that was available, that you could buy a duplex and a triplex, like a really large brick 2.5 story home, like you had to pick at the litter, right? So it was unbelievable. So we bought on Fairley Avenue South in kind of central Hamilton, big brick house. It was an existing duplex. It was a little dated. There were tenants there already, but we just kind of like took it on as is. So I mean, you could call it like a turnkey. But it was like kind of a dated property. There were long-term tenants, but it cash flowed like right off the top. So we looked at so many different properties. It was such a fun experience at that age. I was a little bit younger, obviously. And it was just cool to just go out and see property and some stuff we would definitely not want to buy. And like, it was so funny. Like it was 3 of us, 3 buddies. So it was kind of a fun experience going through that and seeing all kinds of houses. And we had like, I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, we came up with a word that like when we went through a house and we knew definitely we wanted out of here, we'd, say Bosco or something like that, where it's like definitely kill this one. So anyways, Fairly, it was a duplex, rents actually at the time.
So I was going to ask, actually, I was really curious, because I know you made everybody jealous by saying, 210, 200 for a duplex, but I go, were the rents relevant or relative at that time?
Yeah, so they were, I think I have a memory of this. So we bought it for $208,000.
Okay.
It was a 2.5 story brick house, unfinished basement. At the time, again, we were really young. We're not like, mapping out, okay, let's pump a unit in here, let's get it done. We didn't have money for that really. So it just kind of remained an unfinished basement with like laundry access for both tenants. But at the time, it was like a large 2-bedroom unit on the main floor. I think they were renting for like somewhere between like $825 and $850.
Yeah.
And then the upper unit, which was I think it was like 3 bedrooms if you included like the attic space, and that was renting for $900 a month.
Yeah.
And I think we were cash flowing off the hop about $700 a month. $600 a month. So Yeah, like
But your ROI on that, right? Like it's you
oh,
think
we
about
just
it.
sold it. We literally just sold it like 6 months ago,
Yeah,
and we refinanced it like 2 times.
yeah,
So it's crazy. I mean, you know what? Moral of the story is it's time in the game, right? I mean, it's crazy. Like 11 years to think how long that was, right? Let alone like anyone, we're making sure we're calling all our clients now in our database from like, well, we try to call them like at least once a year, but like, I mean, actually even 1 year, 1 to 2 years, like there's some decent equity built up where people
yeah.
can, borrow at 2% or whatever round numbers, and if you can invest that in something generating more, like you should be able to accomplish that. Like, can be a no-brainer, right, to help build your nest egg a little
Even
bit.
in the last 2 years, right? So if you look at let's consider it like 2019, 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I had a property where I bought it in 19, I refinanced it in 20, and then I refinanced it again just last year, right? And I each time pulling out a significant amount. So I know the market's been climbing, and that I don't think that can be said enough, right? Is that how much equity you have in your place, and that you should be tapping into it, right? You should be tapping into that equity. That's going to continue driving you forward, and it's a conversation. It's a conversation I end up having every day with just either the person at the gas station or the grocery store clerk, and they're just having chats about it. I was at the bank the other day, and this guy came in, and he was like, "Oh, I've paid my house off. Like, I'm fully paid," and everyone was like congratulating him, and I was sitting there going, "Oh man, wait, hold on," chasing him out the door, right? But it's good, and like in Hamilton alone, what have we seen in the last couple of years? Like, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just roughly, what have you seen for your clients in growth, appreciation wise, and all that?
It's been unbelievable to just see the opportunities that have come out of the market. Like, obviously there's two sides to every coin, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously very expensive for anyone to buy real estate right now, and it's very challenging for a lot of people. But if you look at the fundamentals and your own budgeting, I mean, that's all you can really control, right? So, and we know that like there's no supply, right? And there's a ton of demand. And so, I mean, I don't really, interest rates are still relatively low. Even if they go up a little bit next little while, like they're still historically very low. And
I want to get your opinion on that as well, Josh. I do want to ask you, and again, and anything you're not, you don't want to be put on a podcast. It's fine, but I'd love to get your opinion on the fixed versus variable argument.
Okay.
But I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish that one first.
Yeah, no. So, so we've seen a lot with clients. I mean, like I said, there's a range of kind of client type where, if we're talking about investors primarily, I mean, those usually it's like the hardest to get into your first investment property. And then once you've had some time in your first investment property, regardless of the type, you just really get it. You start to kind of get how it works and why. You don't meet too many people who invest in real estate and want to just stop at one property, because once they realize like the total rate of return on an investment property or an income producing property, the math it doesn't really compare with other asset classes for the most part, right? Often we just get stuck looking at headlines of, oh, real estate market bubble gonna crash, bubble gonna crash. I mean, that's one metric of the rate of return, right? Is like, what is the house worth today? Is it going up or down? But often what doesn't get calculated is like, you buy a house for 700,000, like you didn't put $700,000 of money, right? You put 20% of that, right? Typically, let's just use a 20% example, 140,000, right? You put $140,000 in the stock market, you're getting a 5, 8, 10% rate of return on 140,000. When you dollarize that, when the real estate market goes up 2, 3, 4, 5% or way more, dollarize that, it's on a $700,000 asset. So right there, dollar for dollar, crazy difference. And then also you got to add in like every month, that a tenant is paying down your mortgage or you're breaking even. It's around like 8, 9% on your money, like in principal pay down. So you add that. And then you add, if you're cash flowing, that's another percentage, right? So like, when you add those together, remember, a 5 or 10% rate of appreciation in real estate is not a 5-10% rate of return on your money, because you only put it's closer to like 25%. Right.
Hang on.
So
that's good. That's really powerful knowledge. And that's, people call it different things, but 3 ways to win, right? Kind of thing is, what you're discussing.
So when we in our conversations with our clients, what's really important is to dollarize things, right? Because sometimes,
Yes.
real estate investing has become like really, mainstream, and that's great in a lot of ways, right? It's also made it a bit more challenging, but you see people like, 50% rate of return, 100, 80, 70, 25, 40. Some people are not familiar with how that works. They're kind of like, it seems like a gimmick, right? So that's why we just make sure to dollarize everything. And I think it can be really powerful. But as going back to the original question, for our clients who got into it for the first time, they really kind of see the benefits of that. They see that cash flow is working. They see the stability, how there's huge demand for rent, and rents have skyrocketed, that it's a very safe investment, right? If you're counting on the rental income to cover your expenses, right, which is your monthly obligation, you have to deal with mortgage payment, taxes, a few things, and you can see that's covered / you're profiting, why would you really need to sell? And you don't really need to worry about the price point a whole lot. It doesn't really matter what's going on, if it's going up or down, right? So long as you're cash flowing, right? And can pay off that mortgage. You compare that to putting money into the stock market, which again, I have money in the stock market too, to diversify. It's just, when you compare what's truly safe, you have all those kind of mechanisms. It just, we see a lot of clients, they get into it and they want to just kind of keep pushing along. So it's been really good that way. And we're really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah. So Josh, one of the things that I did want to talk to you about today was your team and how you built the team. And that's something that I'm, working on myself right now. And something I've always found, challenging, right, is to build a team of people you want to see every day, you want to work with every day, and that are also producing and giving the results. So as a team leader, I'd love to know, your process or how you've gone about building that team and managing.
Sure. Yeah. So, no, more than happy to share, and something super proud of, and definitely an open book about it. We've got some amazing people. So, okay. So in terms of the team, there's kind of two sides to our business now, right? The one that's our core business is so we have 3 partners, myself, Greg, Jake, my brother, and we all have our own clients, right, that we help. Yep. And so, our clients and mortgage transactions is our core business. And then 2 years ago, we opened up our brokerage. And now we have other mortgage agents, similar business as us, that they're their own business, but they park their license under our brokerage, and they're looking at building up a business, right? So I'll talk more about our team first, and I'll talk a bit about kind of our relationship with our brokers, but our core team. Greg and I were kind of just doing our own thing with our own clients, involved in every part of the transaction. So I'm going to get really boring here, but I'll try to make it quick, right? Mortgage transaction, you get connected with the client, you have an intro call, you need to request an application and documents, you need to follow up for that stuff, because it's not super exciting. It's not fun for most people to dig up, their pay stubs, their letter, their T4, all that stuff, right? That's a big part of it. Then, you receive all that, then you got to assess their information, then you chat with them again. Eventually something happens. If they secure a house, then we actually have to formally submit to a lender. It's back and forth with the lender, sign off with the client. So, I'm really condensing it, but, prior to it, it was just, myself, I would do all of that from start to finish. So then, what happened was, we had someone kind of referred to us who was working with Greg's brother, Austin, who's our most senior guy. He's coming up on his 7th year with us, which is really amazing. Yeah. And he's we would call him our senior underwriter. And he's, he interviewed him and asked him what things have been like over the years. Been pretty funny, right? Going from just no structure to we're very structured now. So, anyway, so it really started with, breaking down the client journey, let's call it, right? And it started with, if I'm doing, if there's 10 checkpoints in a mortgage transaction and I'm handling all 10 of them, it started by, seeing where I can bring in another member of my team to handle maybe two of those checkpoints, 2 out of the 10 or 3 of the 10, right? And so it kind of started there in helping, follow up with clients maybe for documentation and learning credit and being able to submit files to lenders and navigate kind of the mortgage approval process and getting familiarized with lenders. So it kind of started there, and that kind of carried us for a little while. And then we needed more than one underwriter to kind of service our capacity. And basically, right now we have a team of we have 4 underwriters that are helping service, myself, Greg, and my brother's files, as well as they do help a little bit with our mortgage agents, depending on where they're at training wise and development with their files. Gotcha. But primarily they're kind of handling our volume, but also they're a lot more involved in with the transaction, right? So I'd say majority of my clients, probably like 90% of my clients, I'm maybe a little bit less, maybe 85% of my clients, I'm chatting with all of them, usually for the opening call and pre-approval call. But, over time, what we're trying to work towards is having our underwriting team, and they're all mortgage agent licensed. They have like more experience than the majority of mortgage brokers and bank people through all the files that we do. But empowering them and making sure that, they're replicating, the goal-based conversations. Going deeper with clients, and we have systems and canned emails and templates that we use. And you know what, regardless of it, if I'm involved in, 3 or 4 checkpoints with the client directly, or 1 or 0, we are still like tag teaming, me and one of our underwriters on every single file. So like, for example, today is like my day. I'm changing my schedule, but today is my day where like every Wednesday, usually I meet for an hour with every single underwriter on my team, all 4 of them. And we literally go through our full client list. Hey, what's going on here? What's going on here? I'll call them, we'll check in, we'll follow up. So still very, very involved in that, as well as, there's not just our clients, there's also our partners, right? So Jacob, for example, if, you call me up and like, hey, Josh, I have this client, he's kind of struggling to increase his qualifying, right now his person or his bank tells him he's good for, $1 million, and we got to get to, 1.2 to find really what he wants. Right. So part of too is like, when a partner is someone, luckily, like we kind of just only work with people who are referred to us right now. And so, part of the process is also keeping our partners in the loop with what's going on. Obviously maintaining like privacy, confidentiality. I'm not, hey, Jake, your client earns this or that. No, it's more just high level. Hey, it looks like we can get them to 1.2 or they got to get me back this or that. And then we should be having our next conversation in, 3 days or something to that effect. But also, partners are trusting us with their clients, right? And so we got to make sure that we're servicing and having conversations with them as well, right? So our team is also like, it's a complete open book, right? So our team gets like a lot of training by getting a lot of trust and exposure to everything we do. And, if at one point they want to transition to being a mortgage broker full-time and not with our team, like I think they're fully equipped to do that, because we're not really like disguising or hiding any major part of the transaction with our clients or partners with them, right? So, and that's really important to us to be able to uphold like, our value proposition with our clients is making sure that our team's really well trained and educated. And, one cool thing this year that I'm super proud of is I think, we have 6 full-time, one's like new to full-time, but I would say 4 of the 6, like, bought their first property this year. And I think 3 of the 4, it was an investment property, right? So awesome. I'm really happy because we're really trying to practice what we preach as well. And that's a big part. So really kind of breaking down our client journey is a big part of like our team. And it's really about service levels. One thing I'd always recommend is, if you're planning to grow, to sometimes hire ahead of need, because like once you get really, really busy, it's really tough to make time to, whether it's interviews, source someone, and then you actually have to invest time to train people, right? So like you have that person who's going to be the right fit, but you're going to initially lose some time when you're already busy and need help in order to get that person to a level of trust and development. And that's what often I've found, like, early on, you can have like, part of like being, maybe successful in whatever you do might be like that you're really like a control freak or you care about everything, right? and trying to let go of part of that and trusting someone where you're going to teach them, it's just going to be done a little bit differently. You got to be able to accept that, but you have to get to that point where you invest the time. You're not like, oh, this can take me 20 minutes to kind of train them on this, or I can just do it in 2 minutes. Yeah. You can say that about literally everything.
Right? And I think you're hitting a lot of pain points. Yeah. I'm sitting here going, yep. I understand, right? Someone who's, actively growing their own business. So that's just why I'm listening intently, because I'm like, keep preaching, man.
Listen, we've been through this, and what, it's been a lot of fun. Like, definitely didn't sign up for this. My goal when I left the bank was, hey, I just want to make X and, do my own thing. And then all of a sudden, great opportunities come up, but you can really, I just think the only way you can really grow, is you need good people, and you need to help train and develop them, right? Which is a different skill set than, maybe your ability to build the business and get it off the ground is a different skill set, and attract and build relationships with, partners like yourself or clients or other referral sources. That's one skill. It's totally different than helping, developing, training,
100%
people. Yeah. But it's, it's fun, learn a lot, humbled a lot too, and change and pivot. I think the important thing is just realizing that you need help, you need good people. And it was, what really helped a lot, I have to say, is, my brother, he came on to our team in partnership 3 years ago. And he had the real estate investment background, didn't really have any banking or mortgage background, but he came from working different kind of corporate jobs, then and an analytics kind of degree, and he's super structured. And at first, me and Greg were like, man, we left the bank. We want to get away from this stuff, right? Get out of here, right? But it was really important. We really never really believed we would have done this. And most people who know us, we try to keep things light, joke around. So majority of people, I would say, don't, and it doesn't really matter, but won't really know how structured or detailed or process oriented we actually are kind of behind the scenes. But it's critical to be able to deliver best kind of service, turnaround time, and offering quality advice across the board. You have to do it.
Agreed. Yeah. You know what? It's, and I think people who innately want to go towards that self-employed, work for myself, are like you and I, who are a little bit more unstructured, or a little bit more, we enjoy the business so much. We, sometimes forget to focus on the business, And I like what you said, that when your brother came in, it really helped structure things. And I think that's the analytical mindset is the guy who's going to be better at that. I wouldn't call it leadership, but definitely training and putting systems in place. So you're not spending your whole day training, the new recruit.
Correct. So that's a really good point too, is, defining literally in a little Word document or whatever, bullet points, these tasks that you do a million times a day.
Yeah.
Right. And you think nothing of it's just Google canned emails. It's a wonderful thing. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot, in your business and mine, we have a lot of the same conversations over and over and over. Right. And if you can just be quick, just being able to be quicker. And also the other thing I think too is consistency, right? Sometimes as amazing as, working with people and clients and this business can be, sometimes it can, it can be stressful, right? It depends. Yeah. There can be a lot of pressure. You can be responsible for a lot of other people's stuff that, technically is not, your responsibility, but you need to treat it as such because it impacts your business, right? Yeah. And so if you don't have systems in place, often if you're having a rough day and maybe your energy levels aren't, where they normally are, you might miss a detail that's important. Your delivery, your energy, the optics of things might not be the same, and it could impact your effectiveness in a conversation, or with a client, with a lender, with an appraiser, with a partner. So that's another part that I would say is equally important, is just delivering consistency as well.
Yeah. And I'm a big advocate for flow charts. I love my flow charts, right? I'm always like, hey, if this happens, you got these options, right? And then so on and so on. And it keeps keeps me and my newer team members and all that on track, because it's a nice quick reference guide almost to what we have to do. That's fantastic knowledge, Josh. And we do have to wrap things up in a little bit here. So I wanted to just leave it with you and say, if you have any advice or one thing that you feel has helped driven your success, whether that's coaching, training, anything. I always like to give 10 minutes or 5 minutes to the guest to say, hey, free form, how do you what's one thing that a listener that's looking to get in the mortgage industry would benefit from, or at least that you found you benefited from?
I think just, again, like the mortgage industry, I just always have to say it's not very exciting. There's no crazy principles or magic recipes. I think just like always doing good by and for your clients. I think just really just doing the right thing and being consistent every single time, genuinely interested in what your clients' goals are or what's going on with your partners, right? Just being very genuine and just speaking always to what their goals are and really trying to understand that, and then being able to illustrate and build a financial plan that's very detailed to them around that. I think just doing that every single time, regardless how big or small the transaction is, how easy or difficult the client is to work with, how receptive they are to different things, just always keep that at the forefront. Because I'm in the business, I think it's the same as you. Like I'm here to kind of like build relationships, build a referral based business, right? We don't like advertise on Google or pay for leads, stuff like that. It's really just kind of like organic, relationships and building that up. So I think always doing good by your clients and offering that extra time to listen and be there for them, good times and bad throughout, the real estate roller coaster is really important, and being there for the long game. I'd say also, just remembering that, like, the way the world is today or yesterday is not necessarily how it's going to be tomorrow, right? And obviously in the last 2 years, there's no better example of that. Yeah. But, sometimes people, and even myself, I was guilty of like, when you hear like, business coaches or things on social media, grow or die, but, stuff like that. Sometimes at first I was like, it just sounds like more money, more income, just grow regardless at all expenses. But really, it just translates into like, if you have opportunities in front of you to grow or add resources, I think, not everyone is lucky enough to have that in front of them. And so, you're really responsible to try to pursue those as much as you can, because not everyone else has that. And also, there's other people around you when you're building a team that are potentially dependent on you pursuing those opportunities, right? Because, if things change, if, I don't know, like, banks stop offering, in my world, banks stop operating in the broker channel, or they decide their compensation next year for a mortgage broker is going to go from here to here on a mortgage transaction. Like, I don't know, that could happen, right? If their mortgage rules for qualifying change, like, suddenly I didn't really change anything with my process, my client base, but an external factor that I had no control of could change. Yeah. And hey, I had all these opportunities to grow a little bit more, and I didn't plan for that. Or technology, could erode certain opportunities, right? So I don't know what's around the corner, and I can't operate and act as if like everything I did over the last 5 years is going to be the same kind of path and route. So you got to plan for the unexpected. And again, like if you have opportunities in front of you, like you really owe it to yourself and those who are close to you to pursue them, because not everyone has that, and you don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah, powerful, man. No, that's great. I couldn't agree more myself with everything you just said. I feel like we learned a little bit about each other today, or I learned a little bit more about you. But I see a lot of our systems are similar, and I just wish you the best in the industry, and keep at it and keep growing. And hopefully I can bring you back on in 6 months to a year, and you're saying, hey, we're now 50 people strong, right? And and you're
appreciate Appreciate that. No, Jake, appreciate it. And I'll have to have you kind of come on with me, and we'll kind of switch chairs here. And definitely, love what you're doing on the commercial side of things. And it's an amazing, just getting to know you a little bit. Just hearing what you're trying to do with investors and graduating them to another level and educating them. Right. There's not a lot of that. The commercial real estate thing has kind of been an old person's, not that my industry is a little bit younger, but like the information, understanding of, commercial real estate principles is not readily available with people that are not taught. So, an agent who's going education based and really trying to offer that to people, I think is super important and a great opportunity. So I appreciate it, man. And it's been a lot of fun, and all the best to you and your team this year. Hope you guys graduate.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, man.